Your physical body fits with everyone, but the soul doesn't vibrate with everyone. I want you to feel these words before you try to understand them. Your body is simple. It obeys biology, instinct, desire. It can touch anyone, sleep beside anyone, walk next to anyone. The body has no mystery. But your soul is wild, ancient, untamed. It does not fit into every life. It does not resonate with every presence. It is selective in a way your mind cannot control. And this is why so many people feel lonely, even when they are surrounded by others. The body is present, but the soul is unmoved. The surface connects, but the depth remains untouched. I have watched people spend their entire lives trying to force soul vibrations with those who cannot hear them. They invest in relationships, friendships, communities, believing closeness is a matter of effort. But closeness is not effort. Closeness is resonance. Closeness is when two inner worlds recognize each other without explanation, when two energies bow to each other, like old companions meeting again after centuries. Your body cannot create this. Your mind cannot manufacture it. It is either there or it is not. And when it is not, you may share a home, a bed, a future, and still feel spiritually homeless. From the first moment I began observing human beings, I noticed something that most people prefer not to see. We are not equal in consciousness. We are not equal in depth. We are not equal in sensitivity. And this difference creates a silent distance between souls. Some people live only on the surface, practical, functional, predictable. They know how to move through the world, how to speak, how to behave, how to survive. But their soul is asleep. Their intuition whispers, but they never listen. Their inner fire tries to rise, but they smother it with routine, fear, and the need to be accepted. Others live like hidden rivers, mysterious, intuitive, spiritual. They look ordinary, but they are not. They carry storms inside them. They see beneath masks. They feel before anything is spoken. They recognize the unspoken sadness behind a smile, the unacknowledged fear in a confident posture, the truth inside a lie long before it is revealed. They are not choosing to see more. They simply cannot help it. Their inner world is a sensitive instrument, always receiving signals others ignore. These people do not fit easily into society because society is built for the unconscious, not for the aware. When such a person tries to connect with someone who lives only on the surface, suffering is inevitable. The body can meet, the lifestyle can align, the words can match, but the vibration never finds harmony. And when vibration fails, everything else eventually collapses. This is why you feel exhausted after spending time with certain people. This is why you feel misunderstood, even after explaining yourself 1,000 times. This is why you feel invisible, even in relationships where you give everything. Your soul is speaking a language their inner world cannot hear. You don't choose who your soul resonates with. It happens on its own. It is ancient intelligence, beyond logic. You may find yourself drawn to someone inexplicably, without reason, without intention. Something in you knows them. Something in them recognizes you. Not the personality, not the history, not the habits, but the essence. And you may meet thousands of people in your life, but only a few will touch this deeper layer. The rest will meet only your body, your face, your role. Only the rare ones will meet your being. People think they suffer because they lack relationships, but this is not true. They suffer because they settle for relationships where their soul remains silent. You can be surrounded by admiration and still feel unseen. You can have companionship and still feel alone, because real connection has nothing to do with proximity. It has everything to do with resonance. The body can lie, the mind can pretend, but the soul always tells the truth. And when it says, "This is not for me," you can ignore it for a while, but eventually the truth returns, demanding to be lived. In my life, I have watched thousands of seekers. Many came to me broken, confused, lost, not because they lacked love, but because they lacked soul connection. They tried to fit into a world built for the unconscious, and the unconscious world rejected them. Not loudly, not violently, but subtly, with misunderstanding, judgment, and emotional distance. For the intuitive, the mysterious, the spiritually alive, this world often feels like trying to breathe underwater. Everything is heavy, everything is slow, everything is out of tune. You must understand, when your soul vibrates at a different frequency, most people will not understand you. They will think you are too sensitive, too intense, too deep, too quiet, too different. They will try to reduce your depth into something manageable, something familiar, something ordinary. But you were not born to be ordinary. You were not born to dim your light so others can feel comfortable in their darkness. The truth is simple. You are not difficult, you are rare. And rarity has always been misunderstood. Pause for a moment and look inside. You know this truth. You have lived it. You have forced yourself into relationships where your soul felt suffocated. You have remained in places that drained you because leaving felt selfish. You have stayed silent to preserve peace while killing your own inner voice. And every time, something inside you whispered, "This is not for you. This is not your people. This is not your vibration." Your physical body fits with everyone, but your soul doesn't vibrate with everyone. And the sooner you accept this, the sooner you stop betraying yourself. When I say your soul doesn't vibrate with everyone, I'm not speaking poetically. I'm speaking about a real energy, something you have felt many times but were taught to ignore. You meet someone and instantly something in you closes. They smile, they speak politely, they behave well, yet your inner world becomes tight, contracted. You cannot breathe deeply around them. Their presence feels like noise, even if their words are gentle. And you meet someone else, perhaps only for a moment, and something opens like a window you didn't know was locked. There is silence but not emptiness, clarity but not coldness. Their presence feels like a familiar landscape you have never visited. This is soul vibration. It has nothing to do with logic, nothing to do with compatibility tests, nothing to do with social expectations. It is simply truth meeting truth. The mysterious, the intuitive, the spiritual. These people live closer to this truth than most. They don't choose it. They are born with a more sensitive inner antenna. They can feel when the energy is false, when the intention is contaminated, when the connection is only physical or mental, but lacks essence. They may try to pretend, to behave normally, to adapt, but the body can never trick the soul. Even when the mind wants the connection, the soul remains silent, unmoved, and finally whispers, "This is not real." And if they listen, they move on. If they don't, they suffer. And many suffer, not because they are weak, but because they are deep. Depth suffers in shallow waters. When you are mysterious, intuitive, spiritually awake, you cannot swim comfortably in relationships built on habit, boredom, or fear. You cannot stay where there is no authenticity. You cannot play emotional games. You cannot negotiate your truth for a sense of belonging. You cannot shrink your sensitivity just because others do not understand it. And yet, many of you have done exactly that. You forced your soul to behave like a body, simple, predictable, adaptable. But the soul refuses to be domesticated. Let me tell you something uncomfortable. Most people do not want a soul-level connection. They want convenience, entertainment, distraction. They want someone to fill their loneliness, not someone who awakens their consciousness. They want comfort, not transformation. But the mysterious ones, the intuitive ones, they cannot love like this. Their love is a fire, not a blanket. Their presence does not soothe illusions, it exposes them. Their energy does not satisfy the ego, it challenges it. And because of this, they are often avoided, feared, or misunderstood. People say they are too much, but in truth, they are too real. There is a moment every spiritually alive person experiences, the moment they realize they cannot return to unconscious living. Once your soul awakens, the ordinary becomes unbearable. Superficial conversations feel like noise. Forced social interactions feel like suffocation. People-pleasing becomes a wound. You can sense when someone is lying to themselves. You can feel when someone is emotionally unavailable. You can tell when someone's smile is hiding emptiness. And you cannot pretend you don't know. This is both your gift and your burden. Your vibration seeks resonance, not replication. You are not looking for someone exactly like you. You are looking for someone who can meet you in the unseen. Someone who doesn't run from silence. Someone who isn't afraid of vulnerability. Someone who listens with their whole being, not just their ears. Someone who doesn't grow uncomfortable when conversations become existential, emotional, or spiritual. Someone whose presence doesn't overwhelm your sensitivity. It amplifies it. Someone whose soul says, "I know you," even before their mind understands why. The tragedy is that most people never experience this depth because they never allow themselves to be fully seen. They fear losing approval, so they hide their intuition. They fear rejection, so they hide their sensitivity. They fear being judged as strange, so they silence their spiritual nature. And in doing so, they attract relationships that match their mask, not their soul. Then they wonder why they feel empty. They wonder why love feels shallow. They wonder why they feel unseen even when adored. You cannot attract soul resonance while living behind a psychological curtain. The soul vibrates only in authenticity. It does not reveal itself to the unawake. It does not open in the presence of superficiality. It does not expand where it is not safe. And for many of you, this has been your lifelong frustration. You are waiting for someone who can feel you deeply, but you are surrounding yourself with people who only know how to touch the surface. When you finally meet someone whose soul vibrates with yours, it is unmistakable. The connection is not gradual, it is instant. There is no fear and only recognition. You don't need to impress. You simply are. You don't need to hide. Nothing inside you is too intense or too strange. You don't need to pretend. The truth becomes the language between you. This is why soul connections are so rare. They require two beings who are awake, undefended, and willing to be seen. And most people are terrified of being seen. If you are mysterious, intuitive, spiritual, you must understand something essential. Your energy is a filter. It filters out the unconscious. It filters out the unready. It filters out the ones who do not have the capacity to meet you. This is not rejection. It is protection. Your soul is not saying you are unworthy of connection. It is saying you deserve a connection that honors your depth. And the people who cannot meet you are not wrong. They are simply not vibrating in your direction. The body may desire company, but the soul desires truth. And when truth is absent, your entire being feels the emptiness. This is why your relationships have felt confusing. This is why you feel out of place in groups. This is why you sense more than you can explain. This is why you experience sudden sadness or sudden clarity when nothing external has changed. You are not unstable. You are intuitive. You are not disconnected. You are highly connected, just not to the superficial layer of reality. You are connected to the undercurrent, the invisible field, the spiritual dimension. You feel before others think. You know before others realize. You see what others avoid. And this world, a world built on speed, distraction, emotional numbness, often feels too small for a soul as sensitive as yours. There is a strange suffering that only the intuitive, the mysterious, the spiritually awake understand. It is the suffering of being surrounded by people who can touch your body but never reach your essence. You laugh with them, you work with them, you share moments with them, yet something inside remains untouched, unmirrored, unseen. You begin to wonder if perhaps you are asking for too much, if depth is unrealistic, if resonance is a fantasy. But it is not a fantasy. It is simply rare. And rarity should not be confused with impossibility. You must understand, the more conscious you become, the fewer people your soul will resonate with. This is not loneliness. This is refinement. When you awaken, your vibration rises, and naturally, the number of people who can meet you decreases. Not because they are inferior, but because they are vibrating in another dimension of consciousness. You may stand next to each other physically, but internally, you occupy different worlds. And when worlds differ, connection becomes delicate, fragile, easily misunderstood. People often ask me, why can't I connect with others the way I used to? And I tell them, because you are no longer who you used to be. The old connections matched your old self. The self that was unaware, uncertain, disconnected from its own depths. As you evolve, your soul becomes more honest. It refuses fake relationships. It rejects half-hearted intimacy. It pushes away those who drain your energy. It exposes the illusions you once called love. It forces you to stop settling. And this is painful because it requires the death of who you were and the birth of who you are becoming. When you are spiritually awake, you sense the inner world of others before they even speak. You know when someone is emotionally unavailable. You know when someone is lying to themselves. You know when someone is afraid of their own depth. And because you feel this so clearly, you often silence your truth to avoid hurting them. But this silence becomes poison. Every time you hide your depth, a part of you dies. Every time you pretend your intuition is wrong, you betray your inner wisdom. Every time you try to make your soul smaller so someone else can feel comfortable, you dim your own light, and the world loses something irreplaceable. Being spiritual doesn't mean being nice. It means being real. Being intuitive doesn't mean being tolerant of unconsciousness. It means seeing it clearly and choosing where to offer your energy. Being mysterious doesn't mean hiding. It means vibrating in a dimension most people never explore. And people fear what they cannot understand. They fear intensity. They fear depth. They fear directness. They fear anything that threatens the illusion they carefully built around themselves. This is why you have been misunderstood your entire life. People mistake your sensitivity for weakness, your intuition for paranoia, your depth for drama, your silence for distance. They do not see that you are simply functioning on a subtler frequency. You feel the emotional truth beneath the surface, and this truth often contradicts the masks people wear. When you tell them what you sense, they accuse you of imagining things, but you are not imagining, you are perceiving. The problem is not your perception. The problem is their fear of being seen. And because of this fear, they will often reject you before you reveal too much. Not consciously, but energetically. They feel exposed in your presence. They feel naked without understanding why. They feel you can see the parts of themselves they hide from the world. And so they pull away, not because you are wrong, but because they are not ready. Your soul vibration confronts them with the truth of their own unconsciousness, and most people are not prepared for such confrontation. You must stop taking this personally. When someone fails to resonate with you, it doesn't mean something is wrong with you. It simply means they cannot meet you at the depth where you exist. They cannot breathe in the same emotional climate. They cannot carry the same consciousness. And this is not a judgment, it is simply how energy works. Resonance is not a moral achievement, it is not a reward, it is not something you can force. It is a natural alignment between beings whose inner worlds speak the same language. And this language is vibration, not logic. You feel it in the body before you understand it in the mind. You recognize it in the silence between words. You sense it the way trees sense the wind, instinctively, immediately, unmistakably. When you meet someone whose soul vibrates with yours, time behaves differently. The conversation becomes effortless. The silence becomes nourishing. The connection deepens without effort. You don't analyze, you don't plan, you don't calculate. Something larger than you takes over. It feels like remembering rather than meeting. It feels like returning rather than discovering. It feels like something that was always there, waiting for the right moment to reveal itself. But you cannot experience this if you surround yourself with people who cannot meet your depth. And for many of you, this has been the cause of your lifelong exhaustion. Your soul is starving for resonance, but you are feeding it noise. You are offering it superficial relationships, shallow conversations, fragile connections, and your soul is saying no, not out of arrogance, not out of superiority, out of truth. You are meant to vibrate with few, not many. You are meant to live intensely, not broadly. You are meant to meet souls, not bodies. And if you resist this truth, your life becomes a series of disappointments. But if you accept it, something extraordinary begins. You stop chasing people whose energy cannot meet you. You stop explaining your sensitivity to the insensitive. You stop trying to be understood by those committed to misunderstanding themselves. You stop wasting your spiritual electricity on those who live in emotional darkness. And then, suddenly, your vibration becomes a magnet, not for the many, but for the right ones, those who feel life as deeply as you do, those whose intuition is alive, those whose soul is awake, those who do not fear your mystery because they recognize it as a mirror of their own. There comes a moment in every conscious person's life when they realize the world they were taught to desire has nothing to offer their soul. You try to find comfort in the ordinary, in predictable conversations, in socially acceptable dreams, in relationships built on convenience, but your being refuses. Something in you rejects the artificial rhythm. Something in you calls you inward, deeper, beyond the surface. And this calling is not a choice. It is a vibration, a pull, a remembering. You begin to see that most people relate only through the body and the mind. They are attracted to form, to personality, to performance. They enjoy your presence as long as you remain digestible, familiar, emotionally manageable. But the moment your depth appears, the moment your intuition speaks, the moment your honesty disrupts their illusions, they recoil, not because you are wrong, but because you disturb the fragile architecture of their unconscious life. You bring light into rooms they prefer to keep dark, and light is painful to eyes accustomed to shadows. The mysterious ones, people like you, are not mysterious because they are hiding. They are mysterious because others cannot reach the place where they exist. Your awareness extends beyond the visible. You sense the emotional climate before the words appear. You know when someone is pretending to be strong but is breaking inside. You recognize when someone wants love but fears intimacy. You understand silence more than explanations. You perceive intentions, not just actions. And this makes you feel like you are living in two realities at once. The external one the world insists on maintaining, and the internal one where truth cannot be hidden. To the unconscious, your clarity is intimidating. Your presence feels like a mirror they cannot control, and because people fear what they cannot control, they distance themselves. They criticize you. They misinterpret your motives. They call you strange, intense, overly sensitive. But these labels say more about their limitations than about your nature. Sensitivity is clarity. Intuition is inner intelligence. Depth is spiritual maturity. The world simply has not evolved enough to honor what you carry, and yet, despite being misunderstood, you continue to feel responsible for others. You want to help them awaken. You want to share your insight. You want to free them from their illusions. But you must understand, you cannot awaken someone who is committed to sleep. You cannot force resonance. You cannot drag someone into your depth. Love is not rescue, connection is not charity. When you try to save those who live in unconsciousness, you drown in their darkness, and they remain unchanged. There is a deeper spiritual truth. The soul chooses its timing. The intuitive knows this, but sometimes forgets. You feel the potential in people. You sense their hidden beauty, and you want to meet them where you know they could be. But you must meet people where they are, not where your compassion imagines them. Otherwise you suffer. Otherwise you build castles on fog. Otherwise you fall in love with possibilities rather than realities. And possibilities cannot hold you. You are not here to force connection. You are here to recognize connection. You are here to honor resonance. You are here to allow the right souls to find you without the noise of the wrong ones. When you stop forcing, when you stop explaining your depth, when you stop diluting your vibration just to be understood, something miraculous begins to happen. The right people recognize you instantly. They see your depth not as a threat, but as a homecoming. They feel your intuition not as exposure, but as intimacy. They welcome your mystery because they too live beyond the visible. Let me tell you a paradox. The more you embrace who you truly are, the more invisible you become to the unconscious, and the more luminous you become to the awakened. Your vibration becomes a doorway. To those asleep, it remains closed. To those awakening, it becomes irresistible. They feel the authenticity of your presence. They sense the stillness in your energy. They feel safe, not because you hide anything, but because you hide nothing. Your transparency becomes their invitation. Your depth becomes their permission. Your soul becomes their mirror. This is why forcing connection is unnecessary. Souls who vibrate together find each other without effort. They find each other across distance, across silence, across time. You can meet someone once and feel a resonance stronger than with people you've known for decades, because the body interacts with time, but the soul interacts with eternity. The body needs history, but the soul needs recognition. The mind needs explanations, but the soul needs presence. When you meet someone whose vibration matches yours, conversation is optional. Words become decorations. The real communication happens in the spaces between them. You understand each other not through logic, but through being. You feel each other without touching. You trust without evidence. You open without fear. Because the connection is not being created, it is being remembered. And this remembering changes your entire life. It shows you why nothing else ever felt right. It shows you why you always felt different. It shows you why the world never understood your intensity. It shows you why your intuition was always pulling you away from certain people. It shows you that your soul was never wrong, only early. You were vibrating ahead of your environment, sensing truths others had not yet grown into. Now you understand. You are not difficult to love. You are simply impossible to love unconsciously. You require presence. You require honesty. You require vulnerability. You require depth. These are not demands. These are your natural frequencies, and only those who live in the same frequencies can meet you there. The body fits with many, the vibration fits with few, and those few, they are worth the entire world. Your physical body fits with everyone, but your soul doesn't vibrate with everyone. When you finally understand this, something inside you relaxes. A lifetime of confusion begins to dissolve. You stop asking, "What is wrong with me?" and you begin to ask, "What is true for me?" And truth, once you allow it, is liberating. You realize that your sensitivity is not a flaw, it is a compass. Your intuition is not an inconvenience, and it is guidance. Your depth is not too much, it is your natural state of being. And your soul's selective vibration is not isolation, it is intelligence. Look at your life with honesty. Every moment you betrayed your inner vibration, you suffered. You stayed where you felt drained. You kept relationships where you felt unseen. You forced friendships where you felt empty. You tolerated environments where your soul closed. And every time your energy collapsed, you felt smaller, lonelier, more disconnected from yourself. Now you understand. Pain was the price of ignoring your vibration, but look at the moments when you honored it, when you walked away from what felt heavy, when you trusted the subtle discomfort inside your chest, when you said no even though your mind said yes, when you chose solitude instead of shallow company, when you allowed your intuition to speak louder than fear. Every time you followed your vibration, you expanded. You felt more alive, more aligned, more yourself. These moments were not accidents. They were revelations. The soul speaks in vibrations the way the body speaks in sensations. You know when something resonates because your entire being softens, your breathing deepens, your mind becomes quiet, your presence feels effortless. This is the natural state of alignment, not excitement, not intensity, but deep ease. And when the connection is wrong, your soul contracts, your energy tightens, you feel drained after being around someone, even if they were kind. You feel overwhelmed after a conversation that seemed normal on the surface. You feel off balance without understanding why. The vibration always reveals the truth before the mind does. The world teaches you to trust logic, but logic can be manipulated. The world teaches you to trust appearances, but appearances are masks. The world teaches you to trust effort, but effort can be faked. Vibration cannot be faked. It is the only honest language between souls. It is the only bridge that cannot be forced. It is the only truth you cannot lie to. You are born with this inner compass. Some of you learned to silence it early because the adults around you did not understand it. Some of you were told you were too emotional, too sensitive, too intense, too perceptive. You learned to shrink your awareness so others would feel comfortable. You learned to dim your intuition so others wouldn't feel exposed. You learned to silence your depth so the shallow could remain unchallenged. But now, finally, you see how costly that suppression was. Once you reclaim your inner vibration, your life begins to reorganize itself. People who no longer match your frequency fall away naturally, not through conflict, but through clarity. You stop chasing. You stop proving. You stop explaining. You stop justifying. You simply live from your center, and whatever does not resonate dissolves on its own. This is not loss. It is alignment. What remains is what is real. And in this space of alignment, something beautiful happens. You begin attracting people who can meet you with presence, not people who are impressed by you, people who recognize you, not people who are fascinated by your depth, people who can breathe in it, not people who seek your wisdom and people who bring their own, not people who need healing, people who want to grow with you. These are the ones your soul was always waiting for. The right souls don't fear your intensity. They feel at home in it. They don't misunderstand your silence, and they understand the language behind it. They don't shrink from your intuition. They welcome it as truth. They don't feel exposed by your depth. They feel seen. They don't drown in your sensitivity. They swim in the same ocean. The meeting of two aligned souls is a quiet explosion. It is not loud. It is not dramatic. It is not chaotic. It is recognition, acceptance, expansion. It is as if life had been waiting for the two of you to remember each other. These relationships, whether romantic, spiritual, or friendship, become the pillars of your evolution. They accelerate your growth. They strengthen your inner clarity. and they nourish your being. And this is the greatest secret of all. Soul resonance is not meant to be rare. It is only rare because most people never live from the soul. But once you begin to live from your essence, once you stop betraying your inner vibration, the world reveals itself differently. The noise becomes quieter. The illusions become transparent. The unconscious becomes obvious. And the right people, your people, begin to appear not by accident but by magnetic alignment. Your journey was never about fitting in. It was about refining your vibration until it called the right souls into your life. Your loneliness was never emptiness. It was purification. Your dissatisfaction was never failure. It was guidance. Your sensitivity was never weakness. It was preparation. And your depth was never a burden. It was destiny. You are not here to connect with everyone. You are here to connect with the ones who can meet you in the invisible, the ones whose souls vibrate to the same ancient music as yours, the ones whose presence awakens your clarity, not your confusion, the ones whose energy expands you, not depletes you, the ones who feel like home, not a house you must constantly repair. Your physical body fits with everyone, but your soul does not, and it never will. This is not a tragedy. This is your sacred design. Honor your vibration, trust your depth, follow the resonance, and let your soul choose the few who were meant to walk this lifetime with you. If these words touched something real in you, share your experience. Tell me in the comments how your soul recognizes resonance, and if you wish to continue deepening your understanding, stay with this channel. For here, we explore the hidden dimensions of awareness, the invisible truths beneath life, and the spiritual intelligence that guides your every connection. Your journey has only begun.